see that we're on the air and I am getting feedback just the way I planned it. All right, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Mount Juliet will have a public hearing on Monday, July 10th, 2023 at 6:15 at City Hall for a second and final reading on the following three items. To amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8th, 2001, amended by amending Article 6, Commercial Districts Regulations 6, 102A, and allow takeout restaurants and CNS commercial neighborhood services. And the second item is to revise Ordinance 2023-2021 and approve the rezone approximately for 19.94 acres located at Rutland Drive, map 78, parcel 13.14, from CI to CI PUD, and adopt the preliminary master development plan, PMDB, and approve the economic development agreement for Project Prosper Costco. And the third item is to annex into the corporate boundaries of the City of Mount Juliet approximately 12 acres known as New Tribe Church, located at 260 Clemens Road, map 72, parcel 74, located within the city's urban growth boundary. And with that, if anybody has any public comments on these three items and these three items only, we'll take them at this time. If you have comments about other items, we will have citizen comments at our regular meeting at 6:30. If you would, come make your way to the podium and give your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none, we will adjourn the public hearing and reconvene for a regular meeting at 6:30. Without objection, we're adjourned. Good evening, everyone. Today is July 10th, and I'll call this meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. We have a quorum pursuant to City Code 62210, and we'll proceed with conducting the business of the City of Mount Juliet. So I'll start with this. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to our monthly meeting, one of our monthly meetings. My name is Mayor James Maness, and on behalf of the commission and the staff, I want to welcome you here tonight. Tennessee law gives you and every Tennessean the right to attend these commission meetings and how we observe and do business here in the city of government. So we appreciate you taking time out of your schedules and being here tonight. Our first item on the agenda is the set agenda. Is there any objection to setting the agenda as published? Our city recorder, are we wanting to take, was it 11-2?
Yes.
Okay. And at staff's request, they're asking for a deferral of 11-2. So if there's no objections, that will be removed here at set agenda. Hearing none, 11-2, an ordinance of the City of Mount Juliet to amend the Mount Juliet City Code, Chapter 16, offenses from miscellaneous provisions will be deferred for a meeting or whenever it's brought back by the sponsor. So with that, our agenda is set. We have a 166-page agenda, 6 items on unfinished business, 12 items under new business. If you do not have a copy of the agenda, you can get one at the wire baskets from where you came in here tonight and follow along. If you're watching remotely, the agenda is available online. The agenda will give you a guide of the topics that we are covering tonight. So our next item on the agenda is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. And I'd like to ask our PIO officer, Mr. Justin Beasley, if you could come and lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. If y'all will stand with me. Let's go before the Lord. Lord, we thank you so much for bringing. Try this again. Can y'all hear me now? Lord, we thank you so much for bringing us here tonight. We thank you for our health. We thank you for our great elected Board of Commissioners, the great team that they are, and the many skill sets that they bring to the table. Lord, we just thank them honestly for just being here. There's so many other things that they could be doing, being husbands or wives or fathers, but Lord, they want to put their city first, and they want to dive so much in their community. And Lord, we thank them for that. We thank our city leadership as well, the tireless hours and the experience that they bring to the table that has brought our city to this point as well. Lord, we ask you for wisdom. We ask you for guidance. We ask you for protection. None of that we can give ourselves in our own merit or our own accord, Lord. We need that from you. We rely on you in that, Lord. Coming off July 4th, Lord, we thank you for our freedoms, our liberties, our opportunities afforded to us, not only in this country, but this state and this city as well. Lord, just be with us as we make important decisions in this room. I would argue that is why Mount Juliet is one of the most desired places to live in all of America. And people aren't coming here for the mountains or the beaches. They're coming here for a family-oriented atmosphere, great-minded government, great schools, and Lord, just everything that comes with that, along with the safety and the people that make up this faith-based community. Lord, may we just, again, continue to rely on you and your spirit and your wisdom as we face many important decisions tonight. Lord, grant us a chance to be a light to you and your kingdom wherever our spheres of influence are. And we ask all these things in your holy and precious name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, and this is from the June 12th meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Next item on the agenda is citizen comments, and I'll read this here. It's just in order to conduct effective business-like meetings, the commission has adopted rules on how these meetings are to be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving and ensure all points of views are heard and considered, and to provide a common courtesy. In a few minutes or a few moments, I'll open up the place on our agenda called our citizen comments. During this time, if you wish to address the commission, you may do so pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 220 of the City Code, but that allows for 3 minutes, and we'll ask you to wait until you're recognized by the mayor to do so, and also that you ask that you observe 3 simple rules. 1, at the beginning of the presentation, tell us your name and address. The second is to please address all comments to the mayor. Do not ask questions of the commission members or the staff. If necessary, I'll direct someone to answer your questions or comments. However, the board is under no obligation to respond to questions. Please avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or inappropriate conduct. Once the citizen input portion of the meeting is over, the commission will proceed with the remainder of tonight's agenda. You're welcome and encouraged to stay at the meeting. So again, welcome to the meeting tonight, and we encourage you to bring your comments forward at the podium. Name and address, sir, for the reading.
Tim Huffine, 5411 Pisano Street.
Yes.
So, Mayor, I talked to you on the phone earlier this week. Thank you for taking my call. I'm actually looking at starting my own business. It's going to be a ice cream franchise that I'd like to have access to the community and the residents of Mount Juliet. This specific franchise that I'm looking at starting is heavy in community involvement and giving back to the community through fundraising and charitable events. As a resident of Mount Juliet, I'd like to be able to give back to Mount Juliet and also Lebanon and Davidson County, but of course my home city of Mount Juliet is more important to get back to. One thing I'd like to call out is that I believe the $100 per fee that was talked about at the last meeting should really be held to those coming outside of Mount Juliet and not those that own a business inside the city. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to address the Board of Commissioners? All right, we have. Yeah. Name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
I came here tonight to say that I am supporting food trucks to come to Wilson County. I thought it was going to be like when I was in student council addressing everyone like when I was in high school, but it's absolutely not. It's a little intimidating. So I just want to say that if they come to our neighborhood in Jackson Hole and they bring several neighbors together of all different cultures and diversities, and it's just a great time for all of us to see our neighbors. And I also attend the events when a lot of people come to the park, and it's just a great time.
All right. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's Jennifer Sartor Beekins, 608 Sire Avenue. I'm here today to say I'm on behalf of the food truck. I do believe that it would be something wonderful for our city. Speaking as a mom, I think it would be great to have something different for especially parents with young children. I find it a lot easier to take my kids out, and it would be something exciting for them, something new. I do enjoy the new restaurants and the diverse from, coming from different cultures and stuff. We would love to try out new things, and I think that our city would, it would be great for our city to have that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners?
Good evening, Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to address.
Can I get your name and address, sir?
You most certainly may. My name is Jamie Luffman.
We've heard of you, sir.
I'm the retired fire chief for the Mount Juliet Fire Department, and I live at 511 Summit Way. And we are in the mountains of Juliet. It's perspective, brother. Now, I am here tonight, sir, to respectfully request your support for the ordinance 11.3 that's on the agenda. It's an ordinance of the City of Mount Juliet to amend the City of Mount Juliet Employee Personnel Manual by amending the residency requirements for the chief of police and fire chief. I believe it's sponsored by Vice Mayor Trevette and District 4 Commissioner Mullally. I ask for your support based on 2 points. Recent years, FDMJ administrators have adapted to the growth of the department based upon the size and the number of members. If you'll go back in history, a brief history, at our genesis, Chief Kenny and I did need to be here all the time, and we did need to be the first ones on the scene. After his departure, it was left to me. It was then spread out over some part-time administrators, but for the most part, it was still administrators having to be on the scene initially for large-scale structure fires and emergency events. Chief Edwards and I worked tirelessly to get the right mix in our officer corps. Our incident commanders now are second to none. The captains are able to get on the scene in short order and begin mitigation processes that I believe were at that time and are to this day great deal of confidence from the administration of the department. The second point that I'd like to respectfully ask your support for is some of the individuals in the candidate pool represent the very best of the best in the fire service, in my opinion. 2 of which have proven records of preserving and enhancing the established cultures of the communities that they serve. Ours is a unique. As we go into the future, we embrace the growth and we embrace the advancement, but at the same time, we hold true and solid to our history so that our bloodline in Mount Juliet will remain true, and we will continue to be the city that Justin prayed for. I think that we all agree that the city of Mount Juliet does deserve the best in the fire service. I do thank you again for your time and consideration, and I thank you for your dedication to service to the city.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners? Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kathy Sacco. I live at 800 Sunset Point.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. Very nervous. Never
Don't
been
be
to
nervous.
a meeting before. So, but my name is Kathy. I'm new to your community and to your state. My husband got a job in the state, so we chose Mount Juliet to be our home. We do own a food truck. We just picked up a beautiful food truck from Houston, Texas. My family's back there. We just want a piece of the community. We're not looking to take away from anybody's brick and mortar. We are looking to serve the community with pride, a great product, kindness, and joy. Our food truck is beautiful. It's purple and green and blue, and it's got a cowgirl, and she's cute, and it's fun. And we take pride in cleanliness. And I know that your community is very pretty. And I come from Sarasota, Florida, so I do know beautifulness and growth. I do understand the protection of the community, as there's a lot of pride. I've met many people. But we're just looking to be a part of the small communities, serve small people, not be necessarily here to take over brick and mortar or someone's piece of the pie, but we just want to join the actual business and have support from the community, which I did understand last time we came that there was a great group of people in your town that do support food trucks, which is great to hear. So again, my name is Kathy, and I thank you for your time, and I do look forward to serving you and your families at your weddings and your birthday parties and your parties, and we'll do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners?
Sorry, I'm late. Got here at the nick of time. My name is Meg. I live at 1403 Barrett Drive in Clearview Estates. I just wanted to come and represent
Can we get your last name as well?
Oh, Meg Warren. Sorry.
Thank you.
I live in this town. I've been here for about 3 years, and I feel like as a young mom, I have an 18-month-old and one on the way. It's very hard to dine with small babies, and there's tons of opportunity for a green space restaurant here, but it just doesn't exist yet. I'm hoping it will one day, but I love the idea of food trucks. I think we need diversity. I think it'll give people like me who have small kids the opportunity to get out and meet my neighbors and have my babies, and everyone can kind of coexist, and I can chase and feed and socialize, which is kind of where I'm at right now. So I think this will bring a lot of amazing opportunity to this community. I hope it would eventually, motivate maybe a food truck to even put up a brick and mortar. If they see that there's a community that wants them here and they can thrive, I think it can only bring more opportunity here and bring positivity. And I think this community will really benefit from just more opportunity. So I'm here. I'm supporting it. I love it. I think we've needed this for a while. I hope it happens. I hope y'all can get behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address the commission? Just got some. I'm sorry,
I
reporter.
have two emails that came in that would like to be read into the record.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Stephanie Hall, and I live at 890 Clawson Road, Mount Juliet. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak this evening. I have been a resident of Mount Juliet for 15 years and currently reside in the Jackson Hills neighborhood. I have been a volunteer with the Social Committee for 2.5 years and now serve as the Secretary of the HOA Board of Directors. Our neighborhood has 570 and has several social media pages to follow within our community. One of these pages is a food truck page, and it has 353 resident members. This amount has gone up since the last time I spoke to the commission and since sharing the information about the possible upcoming ordinance amendment. Our neighborhood wants food trucks. I would like to restate a few facts that I shared at the first reading. Nashville ranks number 10 of the 20 in the nation for food trucks. Mount Juliet is home to food trucks turned brick and mortar, Hibachi Jr. Another truck, Fried Green Tomatoes, was seen on Shark Tank and earned funded. In speaking to local brick and mortar restaurant owners, the overall response to food trucks possibly becoming more prevalent in Mount Juliet. Welcoming to small business owners, not scared for their businesses, not concerned about competition. If a food truck puts me out of business, then I wasn't doing something right to begin with. Food trucks offer food choice and diversity of cuisine. Often food trucks will build their menu off of the unique to create a draw and following. Mount Juliet needs unique. We need variety and options for dining. The city has brought food trucks to Charlie Daniels Park, and the attendance has been amazing. We need more of this. The neighborhoods want the opportunity to book trucks for their community. One of the biggest hangups I am hearing for not changing the ordinance is the loss of sales tax. The $100 permit more than makes up for the loss of $20 on a $2,000 sales day. Another rebuttal that our city is going to be overrun by thousands of trucks. This line of thinking is false. Food trucks will not come to the city if they will not make money. Several trucks have $1,500 minimums, and if they do not think it is worth their time, they will not come. When I have booked trucks for events, they always ask me the following: how many trucks are planning to come, and what is your expected attendance? If the truck doesn't like my answer, they say no. Thank you for your time and consideration, and let's support small business and welcome food trucks to our city.
Thank you.
Got one more. This is from Ray Martin, 145 Vanner Road. Good evening. I am here today to talk to you about the benefits of food trucks in our community. There are many reasons why food trucks are good for our community. First, they provide a variety of food options. This is important because it allows people to try new things and experience different cultures, and it is my belief that the city of Mount Juliet should embrace the idea of food trucks, not just because of the convenience these trucks bring to the community, but because of this post-COVID time we currently live. There are people that have become accustomed to staying home or ordering delivery rather than dining out. We need these food trucks as a way to get people to open up their doors and step back out into the community, while at the same time helping people build the confidence to go back to the local brick and mortar establishments that have struggled over the past couple of years within our community. Second, food trucks are often very affordable. This is especially important for people who are on a budget and who do not have a lot of time to cook. We should look at these food trucks as an opportunity to open people to new dining experience and culinary adventures. Third, food trucks are convenient. They're often located in areas where people are already gathering, such as parks and festivals. This makes it easy for people to grab a quick bite to eat without having to go out of their way. Look at the Mount Juliet Market Night events at Charlie Daniels Park. I myself have witnessed a growing attendance at these events, and I'm sure you all have as well. Fourth, food trucks are a great way to support small businesses. Many food trucks are owned and operated by local entrepreneurs. By supporting food trucks, we're helping to create jobs and boost the local economy. I have witnessed some of the Nashville area food trucks move from the mobile business to a brick and mortar establishment. Take a look at Carl Worley and his food truck, Biscuit Love. Carl started his business setting up in the downtown area, selling meals created around his now internationally renowned business, which drove him to fame. Appearances on Good Morning America, and now having brick and mortar locations in Hillsborough Village and in the Gulch, two of the highest priced real estate areas in Nashville, and making his restaurant a Nashville destination because of its fame. Imagine having something like this in Mount Juliet, which draws in people just for a dining experience. Finally, food trucks are a lot of fun. They add a sense of excitement and vitality. They're also a great way to meet new people and make friends. These events are not about neighborhoods, but bringing areas within our community together through one common denominator, food. As someone who loves to cook for others, I can tell you the firsthand that there is not a single person that has come to my home and shared a meal with me and my family and not left the house without feeling like they are also part of our lives. In conclusion, food trucks are a positive force in our community. They provide a variety of food options, are affordable, convenient, support small businesses, and are a lot of fun. I encourage you to support your local food trucks and help make our community even better. As the cost of operating within the metropolitan area real estate market, businesses will continue to look towards smaller cities or towns due to their lower cost of operation. Why not make Mount Juliet one of these locations? If the food trucks are allowed in our community, develop a following, and find success with our residents, where do you think they're going to look if they decide to take the next step and from a mobile to a permanent location? Thank you for your time.
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is our commissioner reports and comments. Commissioner Hefner, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to appreciate everybody coming out this evening. I want to welcome my wife here. She's decided to show up in person. Sorry, I put you on the spot. And then everybody tuning in. Also, as I'm going through my commission report, I put up there's a QR code, so get your phones out. What this QR code will take you to is a link to 3 maps that I requested our IT director to place on the city website. These 3 maps represent the current capacity of the schools within the city of Mount Juliet. That's for 3 high schools, elementary, and middle school. The school capacity statistics were provided to me by Mr. Luttrell 3 weeks ago, so it's fairly recent. On top of the school capacity and the schools, I overlaid the projects, the housing projects that have been approved by the city of Mount Juliet within the past several years. And these are projects that have not been built out yet. So these are households excluding 55 plus communities, and these households and the impact that these households have on the specific schools within that jurisdiction. So you'll be able to see the number of households within any given school within the city of Mount Juliet and the impact that potentially have. I think this is extremely important for everybody to have access to. I've been working on this for the last 7 months now, maybe 8. And I think it's something that we need to be very cognizant of. I certainly am. So anyways, it's a quick link. If you got your QR code, I know I'm kind of stretching this out a little bit, give everybody time to get their phones out, but should take you to those 3 maps. Curious, just for education purposes. I want to thank Rocky. I want to thank so many that were involved in the fireworks display. It was phenomenal. Really do want to thank all the sponsors, of course, the title sponsor, U.S. Community Credit Union, for their contributions. Of course, Circle P Ranch, Needham's. There's so many to mention. Busy Bee, Bach to Rock, Music School. Chris did a phenomenal job putting that together. I mean, he was at some point, I think he'd been up for maybe 24 hours. I don't know, but I know he was running around. So I want to give a special shout out to him. So great job by everybody that was involved in the fireworks. Everybody, I'm not aware of any injuries that happened that night. So God bless that. That wasn't an issue for us. Also last night, my wife and I attended the memorial for Officer Mundy and Officer Music. Everyone that was involved in that came out for that. And again, Rocky Lee, I've got to give credit to him. He just did a phenomenal job putting that together. The Sea of Lights, if you didn't get a chance to see it, I'm sure there's a video that's around the internet somewhere of that. It was a spectacular, humbling, and just a wonderful event on the 20th anniversary. Hope everybody is enjoying your summer. Shop and dine local, stay hydrated. We're in the middle of the summer, so we're probably going to start seeing temperatures into the hundreds. So please stay hydrated. Also, some big shout out to Public Works. I wasn't in town for the Straight Line Win event that happened a week or so ago. I understand we had some terrible winds that knocked down some trees, and it's just debris everywhere. I think we had an event similar to that a couple of years ago on the anniversary, in fact, of the March 3rd tornado. So appreciate Public Works, PD, of course, and fire that were out there cleaning up the mess. So you guys did a great job. Appreciate that. Also, just want to mention coming up, very important meeting, July 25th at the Chamber of Commerce from 6 to 7:30. Anybody that's interested in seeing the Music City Star, or as it's now called, WeGo, have additional stops and runs to downtown. This is a public hearing, if you will, meeting. Please attend. They want to hear from us. So if you want to see Music City Star run down to downtown at night or multiple times throughout the day and the evening, this is a perfect opportunity for the citizens of Mount Juliet to come out and let them hear directly from you. So again, that's July 25th from 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m. at the Chamber of Commerce. And last but not least, there's an internet video that I did out at Golden Bear Parkway, and the shirt that I was wearing, that was an actual, that is an actual picture of my dog. So Little Buddy. So if you're not familiar with the video, go check it out. It's a bright blue shirt. You can't miss it. But anyway, I've got a lot of questions if that was my dog or not, but that was an actual picture of my dog that my wife got for me for Father's Day. So anyways, want to clear the air on that. So anyways, that concludes my comments, Mayor. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. With that, we'll recognize Commissioner Milletti.
Thank you. Okay, this Saturday, Celebrate Mount Juliet, our second annual, July 15th. It's from 4 to 8. Is that right? 4 to 8. 4 to 9. So everybody come out for that. The city's been promoting it on social media. And so if you can, come out for that. And from 2 to 4, there's a cruise in. If you have a classic car, you're invited. It's free. Just bring it, show it off. And then the from 4 to 9 or 4 to 8 is going to be the car show. So please get your fancy cars out and bring them and show them off. Yesterday was the 20th anniversary of the death of two of our officers, Sergeant Mundy and Deputy Music. And so I'm just thankful to live in a community where we don't forget. We remember them. I was here. I remember it well, 20 years ago. It was just a terrible, terrible thing. If you live somewhere in the city that has a median, it is illegal to dump in the median because that's city property. So I know that with all these storms and everything, people have a lot of limbs. Please don't put your limbs in the median. We have a no dumping code here in the city that is illegal. So please put them out to the edge of the curb in your yard. And if you have a sidewalk, please don't block the sidewalk, and the grapple truck will pick them up. And also, if you have a creek behind your house, please don't put them in the creek because it dams up the creek and causes water flow issues. So I just wanted to point that out because I've heard of some people doing that as well. So that is all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, we'll recognize Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to if we would ask everybody to hold the family of Miss Helen Hayes in your prayers. Miss Helen Hayes is a lifelong resident of Mount Juliet, Wilson County. She has 3 kids. They're here. She passed away, I think it was yesterday, 89 years old. Her family was instrumental in helping create what you see here in Mount Juliet. Her husband, Jackie Hayes, was actually one of the directors that began the Green Hill Utility District many years ago that is now the West Wilson Utility District, which most people call the water company. So the family's been instrumental in every good thing that you see here in Mount Juliet. So if you got an opportunity to say something to Medina Vale or Lance Vale or Nick Hayes or any of the family, then please hold them in your prayer. Would also like to say thank you to Rocky and the Parks Department and the Police Department and everybody that was involved actually in the memorial of Jerry Mundy and Johnny Music. Kenny and I were both in law enforcement at that time, and was talking to Sheriff Ash yesterday, being on the scene when that happened, being on the interstate. It brings back memories of things that nobody should ever have to see, and you can't unsee that stuff. The families of those 2 gentlemen have done everything in their power, as has the city of Mount Juliet and Wilson County. All of us made promises to the family 20 years ago that we would never let their memories and their contributions to our community be forgotten. And I can honestly say that we've been successful in keeping our promise. The families have held their memory and held it up to the highest esteem. So for those of you that were able to participate, thank you. For those that helped put it on yesterday, thank you. The memory of last night was a whole lot memory of July the 9th, 2003. So thank y'all for that. And Kenny Martin, thank you for everything you've done as well. We some of you didn't get to see it. We had a little fun because we had Oliver Steele. Some of you will remember Oliver. And he was here at 6 o'clock where the mayor presented him with a proclamation. What we didn't tell Oliver was, and some of you who saw him on television may remember that he thanked Sandy Elliott for her contributions to his career and what he's been able to accomplish in the music business. And Miss Sandy Elliott is retiring from Wilson County School System after Mayor helped him 22 years, I believe it was. 22 years of service to the Wilson County School System, and she's retired. And she received a proclamation also from the city of Mount Juliet and the mayor's office for her service to Mount Juliet and Wilson County in light of her contributions to the school system. So we actually gave those 2 proclamations to those 2 wonderful guys and Miss Elliott. Miss Elliott not only taught my kids in school, I got to coach her son and baseball, and such just class individuals, wonderful people. I also want to thank Rufus Page and Jeff Page and the whole Page family for the event that we were able to take place in and participate in at the Circle P Ranch. What a wonderful event. Hot, but well represented. The city was there, the people were there, and we had a blast. It was a great fireworks show. So thank you to the Page family. They are also a part of the Mount Juliet culture and the Mount Juliet history. I said Mount Juliet's got 40,000 residents, and the Page family makes up 20,213 of those. Biggest family that I believe I've ever seen. And I want to make a comment that I saw, a comment that was made in Mount Juliet. It was asked, we were talking about fine dining in Mount Juliet and how we needed fine dining in Mount Juliet. And they wanted fine, high dollar restaurants in Mount Juliet. And then we come to the commission and we're talking about getting food trucks in Mount Juliet. And I'm thinking, man, have we gone from one spectrum to the other one? And so hopefully the food trucks, when they get here, and by the way, I'm supporting food trucks 100%. But when they get there, I hope to God they don't become high dollar. That scares me. I've already heard about the lobster truck. That scared me as well. So, Mayor, with that, I'm finished my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'll recognize Vice Mayor Trevette.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thanks for all the families that came out tonight and that's also watching online. It's always great to see folks come out. And yes, it can be nervous wracking, getting up behind that podium. Many times I've done it. And, sometimes it's even harder to get used to it when we're up here because you got that little TV over there that kind of messes with you. It's about 2 seconds behind. So if I get stuttered up, that's exactly what's happened. I pay attention to that TV. So I'm just going to get and tell y'all my secret. And this guy over here that he just interrupts me. So I'm going to ask him to please. I respect his time. He's going to respect mine. We're going to do kumbaya after this. So, but no, with all joking aside, Mr. Rocky, as part of the parks team, also, he's done a really good job at kind of setting a lot of events for us that we all take for granted. I understand it's from our safety, it's from our first responders, for our firefighters, our EMS, our city employees, our parks team. It's just, like we've had some great events here lately with the Blue Light Memorial last night, to the 4th of July, to the July 15th that's coming up, next Saturday. It's just, we are blessed to have great city along with all of our teams that constantly put in their time and dedication to this city as well. So looking forward to many of those events. I will highlight, just because Mr. Rocky always asks me to go ahead and always talk about the movie night that's coming up on August 4th at 8:15. We just wrapped up our past movie night here, this past Friday. Great turnout. And just, of course, I do support the food trucks along with our local businesses. I think it is something that we do want to look at many opportunities out there to see what kind of new foods. And of course, I actually do have 3 kids, and my wife is really excited about having some opportunities there when it comes to food and along with our community. So my neighborhood has 653 homes. I kind of threw out a survey out there on social media, along with my neighboring community, which has a little over 665 homes over there. So it was a great response. So there's many folks that are looking forward to this pilot or this opportunity from the city. So I hope everything goes well tonight. But with that, just again, as we are, as Commissioner Hefner did state about the temperatures, think about our neighbors. We've got a lot of, diversity when it comes to our new families that are moving here, and also our older families. And I'll tell you this right now, I've got a couple neighbors that are in my community that are just older, and maybe that like they live alone. And it's always great to just go over and check on them, say hello, be a neighbor. If you don't know those neighbors, that's the time to kind of just be, just a good neighbor, support these folks, double check on them, and just see if there's anything that you can do. We're all healthy, if you are healthy and you have that ability to go over there and be a good neighbor, help out with lawn or water their plants or just check on a wellness, it's always good practice there. So, but with that, Mayor, that concludes my reports, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. And as Commissioner Justice spoke about, we did recognize Mr. Oliver Steele here just at 6 o'clock with a proclamation. And that brings me to this point. One of the reasons that that he spouted for his success there was on TV as he performed there on American Idol was giving thanks to the teachers that have taught him. And we also recognized his high school teacher, Miss Sandy Elliott, for his efforts in his musical career. So it's nice when you see those elements from our community all linked together here, and you see the success that we're having and how that all links back to our educational system, our teachers that work so hard to give us the opportunities that we have. And of course, we also recognize Mr. Rufus Page and Mr. Tom Needham for their efforts with our 4th of July event. I think the event was, without a doubt, very successful. It was nice to see our community unified, one event, one show, and come together and celebrate our Independence Day here in this country. So thank everyone involved, the volunteers, all the city staff that did everything that they did to make that happen. And I know they put in countless hours to organize that. It doesn't just happen at the last minute. So there's a lot of effort that goes into that and planning. This coming Saturday, we have our Celebrate Mount Juliet event. And I just want to take this opportunity just to invite you. I know others have spoken about it, but it's going to be a nice event starting at 4 o'clock on Saturday at Charlie Daniels Park. If you want to come out, celebrate with us, it's a wonderful event. The Parks Department and all those involved do a wonderful job with that. Really a family-friendly event. Also, the car show will be going on. The Ray Daniel Cruise In will be going on at roughly the same time. So with that, I got to mention last night the anniversary of the death of these 2 officers that represented our community so much. And city manager was texting back and forth last night, and he said something. It's just, I know when you're speaking, you said I'm lost for words on something sometimes when it comes to speaking about that. And none of these things are easy to talk about when you talk about the sacrifice that people made, especially sacrifices that involve them literally laying down their lives for the community. And those aren't easy things to think about. And my only response I really could come back was Mount Juliet's a special place. And when you have individuals that lay down their life for the love of this community, to me, there's always a bond there. I don't know that I ever met either one of those gentlemen personally, but at the same time, I think we all mourn in some way because they're ours. And I had somebody ask that said, you continue to recognize this, and they just moved here. Now I know it was something that's kind of unique to this city, and you don't know where people come from. You don't know what communities they come from, how often something like that may or may not happen. But this is something that doesn't happen in Mount Juliet, and I know it's been said, we're never going to forget. And as long as I'm here, we're never going to forget the events that happened that day, because we celebrate their lives and the way they celebrate this community. And I know the pastor said, he was quoting from the Bible where it says, "Blessed are those who mourn." And he kind of just threw out there, it says, doesn't feel like a blessing to mourn. And, just reflecting on some of the conversations we were having last night, I thought about that, and I was like, how is it a blessing to mourn? And the only thing I could come up with was the only reason that we really mourn is because of our connection to those people. And I feel connected to both of those gentlemen for their love for this community. So the only thing I could come up with, the only blessing from mourning is the prerequisite to mourning involves love. And if we never had a connection and we never loved someone or loved our neighbors, we don't truly mourn for them. We see bad things on the news that happen and they disturb us, but there's not really a sense of mourning on it. And it's been 20 years in a day now. And to a lot of people still mourn the events that have happened in this community. And I say all that because that's all I could come up with last night. Mount Juliet's a special place. And it truly is a special place. You won't you won't find other communities like this. You may find some that are similar. You may find some that are traits. You may find some that have things that we don't have. But the people that live here and invest in this community and make it what it is, it's just simply a special place. And I've rambled long enough on this, but you know, it's a community, and we're not going to forget those that served and sacrificed us for us, and all of our first responders that put their life on the line every day for us. And I just want to take this opportunity and thank them, thank their families. I know it's a stressful job, and I know it's hard to separate what you do on the job sometimes and going home and just clock out. It's not like a job where you just leave the office. So I appreciate everything you do. And with that, I'm going to recognize our city manager for his comments.
Mayor.
Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thanks for everybody in attendance tonight. For those watching at home, Commissioner Justice asked that I remind everybody that Oliver Steele will be singing the national anthem, I believe, this coming Saturday on the 15th. So we encourage you to come out and always see him, but all the other wonderful entertainment, including the Cedar Creek Boys and Miss Cherie Hefner, who's still in the room here tonight. You're going to see some awesome entertainment free of charge, and just surround yourself with people in your community, and those outside your community come out and have a good time. I want to echo the sentiments of the commission. Thank you for coming last night. It was awesome to see you there. I can say this without any doubt whatsoever. 20 years ago, I was a police chief in this town. That particular point in time, Commissioner Justice and myself had spent it's 13 years at that particular time, years of service together, protecting the streets of Wilson County and Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and sometimes Lebanon and even Watertown, depending on where they needed help, to protect the citizens here. And for somebody to serve the city for nearly 34 years now, I can tell you without a doubt I'm very thankful to not only the citizens, but to the Monday Music family for showing us what true strength looks like. Exactly. They actually led at a time they needed us most, and actually we needed them the most. And so unless you've experienced something like that in a community where you have fine men and women that put their lives before others, that get up every day, just like our military personnel, police and fire personnel, that take it upon themselves to say, I want to pick a job where my job is to put your safety before my own, which is absolutely awesome if you think about it, if you take a minute to think about that, so that you can lay down in a wonderful community like Mount Juliet and sleep good at night, right? And the reason I want to thank the citizens in this elected body, past and present, and hopefully future, is that 20 years ago, when this tragedy happened in our community, we made a promise that we would make things safer so that you'd be safer and that our officers and our firefighters would be safer. And I can tell you from experience, for somebody that served for 34 years, we didn't have a fire department up until 10 years ago. We did, but it was through the county. But this city believed so much, and so that they said, we're going to build a fire department. And then they went a step further, and they built EMS, which they didn't have to, which is very rare across the country for a city this size to have its own EMS division. But where they really exceeded was with the police department. We'll build a brand new police department in the city's history this year. And I can tell you that this city, just outside of a major metropolitan area, had tools provided by these citizens and this elected body long before Metropolitan Police Department of Nashville had it. LPR cameras, body cameras, the best of equipment you get, because they want to make sure they have the tools that the citizens deserve, because your safety is the number one priority of why we do what we do. Without the citizens, right, then we have no community. So I know that they're humble individuals up there, but there hasn't been a tool that we've asked for when it comes to putting your safety first that we've been denied on, even down to pay and benefits and things of that nature. So that's important to me. So if you see a police officer, you see a firefighter, EMS personnel, military personnel, or anybody, nurses, doctors, you name it, that are taking care of you, home health care workers, you name it, those are some awesome individuals. We're all awesome as human beings, especially being made by God. But I want you to really think about it. We could be such a great society, even beyond what we are, if we just took time out to realize that everybody else that we share this planet with is suffering through the same things. They have stresses and aches and pains and worries, but we've got a group of people here that put your needs first before anybody else's, and that definitely comes with emergency service workers. So I can say publicly how proud I am, and it's not just talk, because I've seen it, and we've worked it, and we've been out on the streets when you didn't have anything. You had to buy your own bulletproof vest. You had a wooden stick for a nightclub. You had to buy your own flashlight. Only thing you got was a badge, a shirt, a pair of pants, and a duty belt. Everything else that went in, you had to pay for, including ammunition if you were going to train. It's amazing what you've done here, and I hope that you never take it lightly. And I think the citizens, because we were talking about businesses, Mount Juliet has an 11-cent property tax. Our budget this year was $94 million, or will be $94 million. $2 million of that comes from property taxes. You know where the rest of it comes from? You guys. From spending in your community, spending locally. Those are the things that go back to our school teachers, our firefighters, our police officers. Without that, we don't have the resources needed. We don't believe in necessarily taxing people beyond what we have to. So I'm very, very proud of that, and I want everybody to know that. And we appreciate it when you come out and patronize our businesses, be it food trucks, be it mom and pop, be it whatever. If you spend money in your community, spend it in your community. Be selfish about it, because that does go back to help the citizens that live in this community. So I'm thankful for that. So that's what I want to add from everything that's been added tonight. I know I stumbled for words last night, because when you love two people and you see them taken from your community and you realize the sacrifice they made, and then you see their family, no amount of time takes that pain away whatsoever. So I just want us to encourage to go forward is to make Mount Juliet even better today than what it was yesterday, and better tomorrow than it is today. And Mayor, God bless everybody. That concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, sir. And with that, we'll move into the business portion. We have 4 items on consent. I will read those here, which is 8.1, an ordinance to annex in the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 12 acres, property known as New Tribe Church, located at 260 Clemens Road, map 72, parcel 74, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 8.2, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the city of Mount Juliet, known as Zoning Regulation Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8th, 2001, as amended by amending Article 6 Commercial Districts Regulation 6-102A to allow takeout restaurants in CNS Commercial Neighborhood Services. 8.3, an ordinance to rezone approximately 19.94 acres of property at Rutland Drive, map 78, parcel 13.14 from CI to CI PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan and approve the economic development agreement for Project Prosper. And 8.4, a resolution adopting the plan of services for the property known as New Tribe Church, property located at 260 Clemens Road, map 72, parcel 74 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and second. If you will forgive me, I've got a question here for our city attorney on 8.3. You had proposed an amendment to 8.3, which was to capture the billing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you state that for us, please?
Oh, jeez. I knew you'd ask me that. Had it. I'm sorry. Yes, you should have that. It's in the section, the public works section. Add sections, subsections D, E, and F.
Okay. So we need to make a motion to accept this one.
That, and then on the issue of the IDB fees and the attorney's fees on this, which have been agreed to, but just to button that up.
So we need that amendment. I'll make the amendment.
Okay. So amendment is to accept this, which is the revised D, E, and F, and to capture the attorney's fees for the IDB board, and what was the
And city attorney.
and the city attorney. Okay. All right, you made a motion. I'll make a second. Any questions or comments on these changes? All right. Hearing none, we'll adopt the amendment with, if there's no objection. All right. We're back on the 4 items with 8.3 as amended one time. All in favor, please signify by saying aye on the consent agenda.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda carries. Next item under unfinished business is 9.1, An ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the zoning regulations. Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, is amending Article 3, the use regulations, adding sections 3, 108, temporary events, uses, and portable buildings to include mobile food truck vendors, food truck regulations for residential and industrial districts. Have a motion and a second. It's on the floor. I'd like to start off with this if we could, and that's just, there's a section here where it's B. I'll read it. It says the submittal of applications of mobile food truck vendor permits must be accompanied by payment of an application fee in the amount of $100 per day, mobile food service vehicles. And that is specifically found under Part D, Part B there. I got a printout. Packet page 49. My amendment, I would propose, and I may need some help with this, Ms. Dana, and that's, I'd propose if the person operating the food truck is paying sales tax to the city of Mount Juliet, that they would be only a one-time annual fee of $100. Yes. Okay, we got a second. Commissioner Hefner?
Are you referring to existing businesses that have already a business license registered in the city of Mount Juliet, or
Not necessarily a business license, but are paying sales tax in the city. I believe you're paying your sales tax based on where you're located. Is that correct?
where your business license is located?
Yes, you would have a business license and you would pay the sales tax to the city based on where your business license is out of. So I would probably suggest that if you're wanting to do that, if you live in Mount Juliet or have a Mount Juliet business license, then
They would need to be based here.
yes.
Correct.
I think that's already covered, is it not? If you have a business license in Mount Juliet, like an existing brick and mortar restaurant, or if you have a food truck and you have a business license that's licensed in Mount Juliet, we waive those. There's no fee. You're just paying your sales tax.
It's not the way I read it, but let's hear from our city planner.
That's actually correct. I think the mayor is correct in saying that if you have a business license in the city of Mount Juliet, that you would not be subject to paying the fee per day, but rather
Correct.
he's requesting the annual permit for $100.
Oh, okay. So instead of, because they pay a business license fee anyways, correct?
I'm not sure what the business license fee is.
Well, the state actually just changed the law on that. So it used to be, if you made more than $10,000, you had to have a business license and you paid an application fee and then you paid the sales tax. But the state just changed it with the Tennessee Works Act that they increased that to $100,000.
Okay.
So you don't have to pay the business tax unless you make over $100,000 and have a business license. So
All right. No, I'm good with that. Okay, I get it. All right. Makes sense.
Do you have any suggested verbiage for that?
I would say if you are a resident of Mount Juliet and have a Mount Juliet business license, then you would not be required to pay the fee,
Daily fee.
the daily fee.
And a $100
Per year.
per year.
annual
Annual
fee in
fee.
lieu of the daily. Are you good with that? Okay. Vice Mayor.
I just got a question. So was that work, if it's a permanent resident, or would it be just let's just say a business owner that owns a house and maybe like a rental? I mean, is there any concerns there, or is it just a permanent resident? Is that how the city looks at it?
Well, I think 6 in one, half a dozen of another. They can get the city license if they choose to, and then self-report the sales tax or for sales that they make here. If they have a rental, typically you have to have a physical location in order to get the license, because you have to have it mailed to that location.
Okay.
So, like if you were typically like a contractor coming in, doesn't have to have, a physical location here, but I'm sorry?
Not a post office box.
Mm-mm. No, they want a physical address.
Okay.
Yeah. My,
Just double checking.
yeah, my goal, to be clear, is just to make sure that people that are based here that are paying sales tax into the city aren't required to pay that fee every day. That's my goal.
Sounds great.
All right. Did he make Commissioner Mullally?
How much is the application fee?
It's $15.
And they still pay that?
It's a business license. All right. I'll restate this. I'll just say any applicant that's a Mount Juliet based resident, a food truck that's paying property tax or paying sales tax to the city will be exempt from the $100 per day fee and pay a $100 annual fee in lieu of that. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, back once amended. You want the floor?
I do.
Yeah, all right. Commissioner Hefner?
So reviewing the minutes, am I speaking in the mic? Can you hear me? Okay. Reviewing the minutes, I picked up on that there was a motion that was withdrawn on the requirement for bathrooms. So where we settled in on that, and Ms. Luckett can help me here, that ended up failing. So the bathrooms are still a requirement. And I would like to make a motion to require bathrooms if it's in a non-HOA, require bathrooms if the event is longer than 4 hours. If it's under 4 hours, I don't see the need to have portalettes brought out for a 3 hour, 2 hour event. So my motion is to require bathrooms for events that are over 4 hours for non-HOA events.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Mullally?
Yeah, you're right. It did fail. So isn't it already a requirement that they have it? So you're just reducing that down to 4 hours? Over 4 hours. Right.
4 hours, not requiring portalettes, portable. If it's over 4 hours, requiring it.
And yeah, if this is at an HOA sponsored event, is the thought they would use the amenities available?
Correct.
Less the, I guess it's an HOA that doesn't have restrooms. Would that be following the same category?
It would.
Okay.
And I would include HOAs that did not have facilities.
Yeah. I'd written down 3 hours, but I'll go 4.
Okay.
I'd also had on there that to stipulate that these were ADA compliant restrooms. ADA compliant restrooms.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Okay.
Are the porta potties ADA?
I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
they are?
You can, yeah, that's an option.
All right, so if you live in an HOA that doesn't have an amenity center or parking lot, or you live in a non-HOA and it's over 4 hours, you got to put your funds together and bring in porta potties. Is that right?
For events over 4 hours.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right here from, I think where this came from was the Gallatin food truck rallies, restroom accessibility required if one location for more than 3 hours. So it's very close. Any other questions and comments on this? All right. All in favor of requiring ADA compliant public restrooms for events 4 hours and greater, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That carries. We're back to twice amended. I would propose an amendment that says no overnight parking where operation of the food vendor, let me rephrase that, to not allow overnight parking at the place of the operation of the food service is happening. So if there's an event going on, it just can't be left there overnight. If it's going to be a multi-day event, bring it back.
Unattended.
Yeah, unattended. That's a good way of putting it. You got a second on it? All right. Any opposed? All right. Hearing no objections, we'll adopt that as the third amendment. I would go on and make an additional amendment to strike item number G from the ordinance, which reads, the city manager has sole discretion to make changes to this ordinance. I don't know that we've ever given the city manager sole discretion to make changes to ordinances before.
Second.
Got a second. Any questions or comments on this one? Any objections? And we'll adopt that then as our fourth amendment. And we're back to the ordinances 4 times amended. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Mullally.
All right, I have a motion on pages 45 and 46 under residential neighborhoods, section V on each page, to replace non-connector roads with non-collector roads.
Yeah.
Any objection?
No.
Any objection to changing that? Changing connector roads to collector roads? Hearing none, we'll adopt that one as an additional amendment. That's back to the ordinance's Fifth Amendment. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question for Jennifer.
Sure.
Since the motion passed for to change the 4 hours, is there any reason to motion to have the restrooms under canteen trucks match that under food trucks for the restrooms? Is there any point
I
to
would
that
put it
now?
in there, otherwise it would not be required for a canteen truck to have the restroom. 'Cause
Okay.
the food truck is separate from the
I
canteen.
motion on page 45 46 under canteen trucks to have the verbiage for the restrooms, which follows the non-collector streets sentence, to match that to have the same verbiage as the one under food trucks
Regarding the restrooms.
regarding the restrooms, because that was not included.
would we be counting the rest, like if they're at an industrial zoned area and say it's third shift and they're serving lunch, would, and maybe this question to our city planner, would we be considering the restroom facilities provided already by the employees as part of that?
They could also provide a statement, the food truck, from the property owner that they would have access to their restrooms, if that would suffice. I can do that at staff level. As long as they give those food truck employees
Yeah.
permission to use the restrooms.
Because I think it would be the opposite effect if we're going to an already established business and requiring porta potties to be brought in.
Yeah, I
I
don't
would
think they're
definitely
going to be
not
hanging
prefer-
out. They got to eat and get back to work. So.
Right.
Okay. But yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this? Commissioner Mullally?
Are we back on the original?
We're back on your motion to,
Oh, okay.
your motion to combine the same requirements
Yeah.
for the canteen trucks as the mobile food trucks. Any objection to this? If not, hearing no objection, we'll adopt that as our Sixth Amendment. Commissioner Mallette, did you have one more? Or
Yeah,
did I-
on the original.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, on food trucks in general, I like food trucks. I love going to the park events where all the food trucks were. I had been waiting for that lobster truck and it finally came and it did not disappoint. Loved it. So I try to go to all those events I can. So I love food trucks. I don't have a problem with food trucks in HOAs. The non-HOA is, I think there's problems there. I do support ice cream trucks and everything that comes under that category, whether it be, shaved ice or whatever comes under that category. 11 to sunset year round. I don't have a problem with that at all. I would like to see that. I didn't have much of an issue on industrial. Unfortunately, these are tied in with the residential, which is, I think, where all the problems are. I did offer what I thought was a sensible, manageable compromise, but it didn't receive any support. I do think, and I'm glad for these amendments, so I voted for them. So I am glad to see those. But ultimately, the entire package I feel it's an open door policy. It's 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year, 2 consecutive days per vendor. City manager talked about sales tax, with the exception of the Mount Juliet-based businesses that have business license. We don't collect sales tax on food trucks. We just don't. The sales tax goes to the place where they're based, whether it be Nashville or wherever. I just think this is too much. It's overkill. I can't support it as is. Again, keep in mind, there's 85 residential neighborhoods across the entire city that includes single-family apartments, townhomes, and condos. They're allowed in every single one, empty lots and driveways. And on the collector street, for example, I don't live on one. I live on a side street. So if I wanted to get together with my neighbors and we come up with a group and we go to the city for an event, more than likely it's going to be approved and we can have food trucks on my street. But those who live on collector streets aren't allowed to have them. I don't think that's fair, in my opinion. For example, a collector road would be Belinda Parkway. So just because of where they live, it just doesn't seem fair to me that I can have it on a side street, but they can't. Also, it hasn't been clarified or determined what a community group get together it consists of. Is it 5 people? Is it 20 people? That hasn't been clarified. So I think that's an issue that needs to be clarified. I have a problem with there not being a tier system. I am glad to see this advantage for the Mount Juliet businesses. But there's no tiered system. For example, I think this Mount Juliet businesses should take priority, and then Wilson County food trucks should get second priority. And then out of county, can come in here if they're invited, or even out of state if you're invited. So I think a tiered system would work better, and then take advantage of our, give the advantage rather to our Mount Juliet businesses and then county businesses. I think it will hurt our park events with the food trucks, not to mention our brick and mortar food places. And it is costing the city staff from hiring an extra person, which somewhere around $115,000. I don't see how one person is going to be able to handle all this and monitor this 7 days a week, including weekends through 10 o'clock at night. When is this person going to get a day off? So I don't see how one person can do this, honestly. I think it has potential of being abused. If, a group of people get together and they want to invite a food truck, what if they don't go through the city? How is that going to be monitored? Are neighbors going to tell on them? It's not likely. And I am thankful that the mayor put the sunset clause in there, which is December 1st. So at the very least, it can be reevaluated at that time. So I just think there's lots of problems with the residential part of this. So because of that, I'm not going to be able to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We did, as part of the budget for that additional position. There's a lot of moving parts here to keep up with. So, and I know this is uncharted territory. Can I ask our planner, where are we at the process for filling that position?
Well, I have not posted the position yet.
Pending passage, I suppose.
Yes, sir. I was trying to be a good steward to our city tax
Thank you
dollars.
for that. I guess question either you or the city manager, approximately how long do we think it would take to get that filled?
I think we would have to post it for 2 weeks is our standard, and then an interview process. I could expedite that. Maybe, at least a month.
Okay. How about this, considering the position needs to be filled? What if we make the effective date of this ordinance August 15th? Do you feel comfortable?
Sounds good to me.
Well, I'll make a motion to make the effective date August 15th. You got a second? I'll get Commissioner Hefner now. Commissioner.
Yeah, effective date's fine, but as long as we got 6 months.
6 months for what?
6 months. I mean, the original idea behind the sunset clause is we were going to have a full 6 months. I mean, we skipped, there was not a BOC meeting 2 weeks ago. It's going to take another month. So we're going to pass a food truck ordinance for 3 months. I mean, if we're going to make an effective date for August or whatever, I mean, it's not the full 6 months.
Be 3.5, yes.
So I say we extend it. And now we're getting into the winter months. I mean, who realistically is going to have a food truck event at, in the middle of winter? So, I mean, I'm leaning more going back to just let's do it for a year and getting away from the sunset clause, since we're chewing away at the opportunity for folks to take advantage and enjoy having food trucks. So we keep pushing this thing out with a deadline of a December 31st. That's why we're going through all this effort, So if we can extend it 6 months from the effective date, I think that would be.
Commissioner, I'll amend my motion then to make it effective August 15th and extend the date, the clause to February 15th. I think that'll be full 6 months. You were the second. Do you have an?
Yeah.
Right, perfect. So the seventh motion would be to make it effective August 15th, which gives staff time to ramp up, and then we'll extend the clause by the 15th on that. That's going to be the motion. Commissioner Maletti.
Yeah, I'll vote for that. I'll support that. It wasn't actually determined that it was going to be 6 months. It was just happened to be the timing at the time when it was discussed that it was 6
About
months
6
out.
months, yeah. All right. I don't think I heard any objection to setting the effective date August 15th with the sunset at February 15th. All right. Hearing no objections. We're amended 7 times. Back on the ordinance as a whole. Any other questions or comments?
We're on the original now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All in favor of the ordinance as 7 times amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
So this carries on second reading, so we'll have a 6-month pilot going here, so get your appetites ready. All right, next order of business. Our next item on the agenda is 9.2, which is a resolution to reserve funds for a police department headquarters building and a fire hall for the city of Mount Juliet. Have a motion? I'll
Second.
have a second there. Commissioner Mullally, you have the floor.
All right. It was discussed that since PD has money in the budget to increase the fire, because currently it's 3 million, so it's not likely, a replacement. And the idea was for a replacement of Station 3, which they need a new building. So anyway, what might be a good amendment to increase the funds for fire?
Ms. Hire.
Thank you. Sorry. I would suggest if you're wanting to reserve funds, 3 million I don't think is going to cover a fire hall. I would increase that to maybe 5 or 6. And then if you want to do the reserve for the PD headquarters still, maybe reserve the soft cost portion of it that you don't really want to borrow money for. So you could lower that from 7 to the 4 or 5. That would be an option.
What was the total you were recommending for the fire then?
Either 5 or 6, because I think the cost of a fire hall these days is probably going to push 6 million.
Okay. And the balance going to police department soft cost?
Yes.
Soft cost for the building.
Yes.
That's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Have a second here. So we have a motion and it's been seconded. 6 million of the funds reserved for the fire department's construction of a new station and the remaining balance to go to the police department at soft costs. Commissioner Justice.
I am super major confused here. We just passed a budget, right, last month?
Yes.
All right. Were these figures in that budget?
15 million was for the PD headquarters.
Right. And then there was a total of 25 million, wasn't it?
For a borrowing.
I'm sorry.
For a borrowing, yes.
Okay.
And that doesn't affect that at all. Like this.
Okay. So,
just
but
the
again,
reserve, this just sort of sets aside the funds. It doesn't affect what you borrow. That.
well, in a sense it does, because I mean, we budgeted this money for no other reason than to build a police department. Okay, so if there's any money that's going to be set aside, we just set it aside in the budget in the capital.
You didn't well, you didn't really set it aside. You just said you just set up a borrowing.
Correct.
Potential borrowing.
Which is what how we would pay for
That doesn't
that.
mean you can't set aside funds to pay for the.
We set aside a borrowing for those funds, and now we're actually in the process. Now we're actually doing a budget amendment using a resolution to do it.
No, it's not a budget amendment.
No. You're trying to answer before. All right. Hold on a second. We did a budget. All right. We had $25 million in that budget for a borrowing, correct? For a police department. All right. Now we're saying that we're going to set aside $7 million for the police headquarters. And how much was it for the fire? 6.
It's 6 million balance.
So I mean, is this going to be in addition to the 25 million borrowing?
This is in.
It's convoluted.
I don't want to put words in
You
the
understand what I'm
sponsor's
saying? There's
mouth
no
here,
reason
but
for it. We've already done $25 million. Why are we doing another resolution for 7 million?
What we're doing is we're counting for the art funds that were received. With those monies were spent in the budget on salary cost, and there was an effort by Congress to claw some of that money back. So it got allocated to salaries. I guess the thought is if we give it to 300 people, Congress would have a great fund trying to get all that back. So I guess a good move there. But to account for that same move, this resolution is just reflecting where our intentions were to spend that money. But this is money we already have budgeted in the budget, correct?
Yeah, except for the fire hall.
So then what I would do then would take the 7 million out of this or reduce the borrowing amount by $7 million. Because I mean, what we're talking about doing now, we're going from 25 to 32 million based on what this says without any guidance or direction otherwise. Correct or not correct? I mean,
No. This would just set aside reserve funds as of the end of this fiscal year, at the end of the FY23 fiscal year. It would just set those so they wouldn't be spendable on just whatever else there was on all the other government services. This would just say, okay, our intention is to use these specific funds for a fire hall, for a future fire hall. If you change your mind, you can change it later.
I don't have any problem with the future fire hall part. I've got a problem with the fact that we have set aside in the budget an opportunity for a borrowing for $25 million for the new fire department, for the new police department.
Yes.
Now we're talking about we desire to reserve $7 million for the police headquarters building when we've already set aside $25 million in the budget for the borrowing process. That's $32 million. And I know I went to Mount Juliet. My math may be a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure 25 and 7 comes to 32.
Well, that's why I suggested lowering it to 4 or 5. But we don't know what the cost of the PD headquarters is going to be yet. So there's a construction cost, and then there's a soft cost for all of the equipment and stuff that you have to buy. So you may not want to borrow for that portion of it, but we don't know what that total cost is going to look like right now.
And so we're playing a bait and switch with the budget. We're doing a governmental bait and switch. I mean, this is what people raise mortal Cain about, is because people go in and play with the numbers to make them come out to the end result they desire. Just say what the numbers are. It's $25 million is what we put aside for an offering, and then $7 million added to that's $32 million for everything for the police department. I mean,
You don't have to do the full 10 if you want. You could just do the fire hall.
Yeah, well, and if we've already put that money towards our personnel here, then some money's already been spent.
It just went into available fund balance to spend for the future. So,
which is what we budgeted for.
right, except for the fire hall. I think Commissioner Mullally, I don't want to speak for you, but just wanted to set aside some funds for the fire hall.
I think I've made clear my objections. I am absolutely for a fire department, another building. I am absolutely for building our police department, 100% behind that effort. But I don't like it when we just go playing with numbers so that we can come out with an outcome that makes us feel better about it. So I'm not going to be voting for this. This is ridiculous, and it's just not, there's no reason to even have it.
Commissioner Hefner.
I agree 100% with Commissioner Justice. I just have some. So we've realized a $10 million savings.
Yeah.
Effectively. We keep referring to this federal government thing, which if we keep mentioning that, I'm not going to vote for it because, again, that is a direct conflict of what we reported. So we have a $10 million savings that is unallocated as a result of that.
Yes.
That $10 million is in our general available funds. The available funds is the $15 million that we passed in the budget for the police department. Is that not pulling from the available funds balance already?
It is, but
Okay.
it's just there's more, but those specific 15 million wasn't allocated to those ARPA funds themselves. It was just in the
Yeah, it's a
in the
pull.
pot.
Yeah, correct. So it's a pull, but it's coming from available funds or could come by way of a bond issuance.
Right.
So I get that. I don't want we have to pass a resolution to do this. The fire hall, yes, we need another fire hall. I think that would probably the better approach, in my opinion, humble opinion, is to do a $3 million budget amendment, which seems kind of crazy given we just passed a budget. If we're going to set aside $3 million for a fire hall, whether that's going to be this year, possibly, or next, then we add it to the budget next year. But I don't know, and unless we're just, again, to me, this just doesn't seem like the best way to be approaching what I get what you're trying to accomplish. I 100% respect that, but I think this resolution is not the way to do it. I think there's got to be a better way to do this than passing this resolution.
Question, pass or fail, does this change anything with budgeting? Okay. Vice Mayor.
And that was going to be my question, which was, what other opportunities do we have? Obviously, once the city goes out for an RFP for this fire hall, and then it's going to take design, and then it's going to go into effect after we give the actual bid process. That's going to be at least another 90 days on top of the actual design phase. So is there any other opportunity? I mean, we're probably looking at 6 to 7 months before we can discuss allocating money or funds for this. Is that correct?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything in the budget. It would just on paper set aside funds for it, but.
And this does not affect any paperwork for you or anything else for your staff?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Commissioner Justice.
Okay. I understand what you're trying to do. Okay. I don't understand why you're trying to do it. Or I think Commissioner Mullally, if I'm not mistaken, you're the sponsor of this. Not sure what you're trying to accomplish. Don't have any idea why. This is I've had this brought up to me two times just in the last couple of days, why this was on the agenda. And it looks like to people who are observing it that we're trying to do something that has no substance to it. And I couldn't argue the point because we've already spent the money. So then taking the money back doesn't accomplish. I mean, there's no way that's going to happen. Right?
Yeah, no.
So what are we accomplishing? Just tell me, what does this do? What does it positively accomplish? Other than it's just something that we're going to go up here and vote on that accomplishes nothing and makes us look like a stupid government entity, which we actually have a tendency to be from time to time. So, what are we accomplishing?
It's just taking those funds out of available fund balance and moving them into this pot that says you can only spend them for these purposes.
Okay, isn't that what a budget does?
Yes.
Okay, so shouldn't this not be a budget amendment as opposed to a resolution that accomplishes nothing?
Not necessarily.
Why would we do this? You just said it didn't affect our budget at all.
No, because it's not an amendment to the budget. You're not setting up to spend it. It's just to set aside, it's just reserve funds for specific purpose for later on. So that
This doesn't reserve anything. It's not a budget amendment. This is nothing more than a piece of paper that, we're all going to vote for or against. It accomplishes absolutely nothing. We're doing exactly what government normally does. We accomplish nothing. We're going to sit up here and make a big deal out of doing nothing.
I'm gonna make a motion to defer this indefinitely.
Second.
All right, any comments on the motion to defer indefinitely? All right, all in favor of indefinite deferral, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 9-2 is deferred indefinitely. All right, we have 4 items on consent. 10A1, a resolution declaring the city of Mount Juliet property in the Parks, IT, Public Works Department as surplus to be disposed of at GovDeal auctions. 10A2, a resolution approving an agreement between the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and the Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, for the widening of Beckwith Road and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement to the amendment. And 10A3, a resolution approving the award of the construction contract for the rehabilitation of the wastewater metering station and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. 10A4, resolution approving the award of the construction contract for the repaving and upsizing of the gravity sewer system serving the Royal Oaks development and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 4 items on consent are passed. On first reading of the resolutions, they are passed. Move to new business, 11A2, an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as the Bluffs at Cedar Creek, located on Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 5, from thoroughfare commercial and low density residential to multifamily residential. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Have a motion? Is there a second? I've got a second there. Any questions or comments on this? Commissioner Mullally?
I'm only going to approve this with the stipulation that, okay, so what's on the agenda is only the land use, not the plan. So if it passes, the plan is going to Planning Commission to be heard. We're not hearing that tonight. We're only voting on the land use. So I'm only going to vote for it because the plan itself will be heard by Planning Commission. And then I'd like to motion for the stipulation that if the plan is not approved, I guess at planning, does it die then? Or
It's
does
a
it still
recommendation.
recommendation? So if the plan itself is not approved, then the land use reverts back.
Yeah, so
Right.
so amendment, if the preliminary master development plan for the Bluffs at Cedar Creek is not approved by the Board of Commissioners, the land development plan reverts back to its current,
Future land use plan reverts
future
back
back
to its
current
Right. And I
usage.
second what she said.
And it's got a second here on it. So is there any questions on that?
Oh, I did notice something. We can vote on that, but I did notice something, which
All right, let's do this. Anybody opposed to having the land use revert back if the preliminary master development plan is not approved? All right, hearing no objections on that, we'll adopt that as the first amendment. Commissioner Justice?
Sir. Oh, I don't have anything other than Ms. Hamblin gave us to me to pass down to everybody's. So I don't know. You can ask her. She made the copy.
Bonus.
She gave us bonus portions. Mayor, if I may, I will make this comment. I think everybody knows I've been very, very consistent trying to get as much residential as I can without increasing the density of that residential in my district. And the reason for that is the people in my district and the people in the north end of town are asking for, and you've heard it as well, want restaurants and they want additional retail opportunities that we don't have access to. And I think anybody who's done this for any period of time knows that the only way we're going to get those additional retail opportunities is when we have the residential opportunities over there to bring those retail opportunities in. If you don't have people over there spending money, then you're not going to have the access to those fine dining lobster trucks and stuff. So I'm looking to bring people over here. I don't want to increase the zoning or the density when we do that. I think just as we looked at it with Traymore, which is low density, but the south end of our city is built, and it's built with a higher density. We don't have access to the interstate in the north end, so we don't have access to the opportunities for the density to be higher. We don't have the infrastructure for that. This is the only way we get that retail is to bring the residential in. So that's the reason I'm in favor of asking for this land use plan. Now, I agree with you 100% and actually had written it down conditional on approval of the PMDP before you said it. So thank you for bringing that up. So I am actually asking if we would to change this and allow for the multifamily residential with a thoroughfare commercial in the front.
All right. And this being an ordinance, what's the path this is going to take? Will we pass this fully before it's heard by the planning commission? Or will this appear on the July planning commission to come back here with the land use on second reading?
It will go to the PC at their next meeting.
Okay. So that will go to the PMDP, will come to at the planning commission, which will bring that back, I assume, first reading for the first meeting in August. Is that correct?
I think that's about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which will be the same time we will hear the land use for a second reading?
We'll track them together.
Okay.
Yes.
So we hear them both at the same time.
That works.
A second reading on one, first on the other.
This.
All right. It'll be second reading August 14th on the land use and first reading on the PMDP.
And that's fine with me because it's contingent upon the
All right.
approval. I just trying to set expectations for everybody. Vice Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. Obviously, I mean, like I actually got an opportunity to sit down with the developer to discuss this project. Thank you, Commissioner Hefner, for providing us the QR code along with the staff that actually helped give us a baseline of where we are currently right now. According to that updated version, I think there's 11 developments that are still either in the process that are currently in the north end of Mount Juliet, just within that vicinity. That's your district, my district, and also rolls over part of the county as well. So there is a lot of development up there. You know, we've looked at a few of these projects that look almost like a shotgun, and this is one of them. And obviously, I am aware of some other development up in this area. I'm having a hard time because, of course, traffic in, traffic out, and I do appreciate, you know, the developer giving some opportunities for additional lights, some road improvements. I really do appreciate that. And yes, we do need it. So even if this project does not get passed, I'd like to see the city do some additional road improvements over there on the north end as well to help offset some of that traffic. But, you know, like looking at this, I'd really like to see some of these other projects, you know, the ones that we've already approved, because we are at such a capacity. I would like to ask, just so we do have it on record, because the developer did open up the floor to discuss some potential, I guess, occupancy. And I don't know if that's an opportunity, but we can ask that tonight, because I know it's just for the land
It's
use,
just the
but I
land use
do
tonight.
want to at least understand that we could be affecting the schools as well. And I just wanted to kind of see what the developer's expectations was on, you know, because when I sat down with them, it was discussed that 1 out of 10 would only have maybe one kid per family in this. So I'm just having a really hard time with that one, you know, like that number.
That's not uncommon for multi-family to have a
1
very
out of
low.
10 homes to have that low.
It's- If you look at Vintage Station over there, I think when the last time with management, it was 4 to 7 kids for the whole development.
Okay.
And that's
Not that many then. Okay. But it's the way it's actual, you know.
And I don't know what the exact numbers would be on this. This is townhome, which is a little bit
Yeah.
different than apartment complex.
Okay. Well, I know it's more towards the land use, and obviously I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but these are some of my concerns, and that's why I'm having a hard time voting for this tonight.
The multifamily pays for the schools and the single family fills it up.
Yep. I got you. I understand. All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions and comments on this, Commissioner Mullally?
Page 101, packet page 101, in the middle and in the tan section, the requested zoning is RM8 PUD, but 2 paragraphs under that, under zoning, it said the applicant is seeking RM16 PUD. This needs to be corrected.
I think that got called out at the planning commission.
Yeah, it's for the staff
Get
report.
it's staff comments. Yeah. All right. Any other questions and comments? All in favor of the ordinance as once amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes on first reading. All right, the next item on the agenda is an ordinance of the City of Mount Juliet to amend the City of Mount Juliet Employee Personnel Manual by amending the residency requirements for the chief of police and fire chief.
Motion.
Have a motion? Motion is second. Any questions or comments? I see our city attorney. Yes, sir.
Did it get changed? This will change the city code. It'll be added to the code to require it as opposed to just quote changing the employment manual.
Do we need to capture that anywhere, or is it you're just pointing that out?
Was it,
It has not been changed yet.
it needs to be captured that it's amending the code.
Okay.
Add to the code that it's requiring this as opposed to just amending the employment.
Do we have a section or reference for the code that needs to be
I believe
amended?
it's chapter 8, but I'd have to
That's
look it
right.
up.
We'll fix it.
Yeah,
That was his first reading, so,
yeah. And it skips a meeting because it's what it is.
okay.
It's amending the code.
Then is everybody comfortable with addressing that on second reading the code, the city code? Okay. Commissioner Justice.
We've got a little bit of a problem. This was actually a standalone ordinance that required this quite some time ago. I don't know if that changed anytime since we've actually originally passed it, but we actually passed a standalone ordinance that says the chief of police would be a city resident. Now we're talking about another, I'm not even sure what this.
Well, I'll say I believe you're correct because this was considered for the city manager as well. And I know
It was.
the code was changed there. But I believe that's what our attorney's pointing out. By second reading, we'll have to.
That's what I'm
address
saying.
that
I don't
code
think that
change.
this is actually valid if we're not considering the actual ordinance that established the policy. I got to. I'm sorry.
The next city manager didn't have an impact on the current.
You know what? I've slept since then, Scott. So I would have a hard time remembering. But
Well,
and I will tell you also, one of the things that I've always been so very proud of with our police department is the fact that we've got chief of police, one of the finest people I've ever met in my life, who is a city resident. Okay. Our city manager, by the way, I think, what do you live 118 yards from the city limits? So, given proximity, we've got a assistant chief, deputy chief, who is a resident or in very close proximity. I don't know if you,
He's in the city.
okay. We have our captain here who in the city limits. And one of the reasons that our city police department or any law enforcement agency is successful, I believe, is proximity. The fact that they live, shop, sleep, eat, everything they do is in our city. And I have a hard time for somebody living 30 minutes. I mean, you can get almost a cookful in 30 minutes. Pretty good distance down the road. So I've got a little, depending on how fast you drive, so qualify that. I got a little bit of a hard time actually, for somebody to live outside of that proximity. Our police officers now, and I'll ask one of y'all, you just shout it out if you want to, what the distance is at this point. It's actually a per mile, or it's a mileage, 20 miles. I'm sorry. Or 20 miles. Okay. So I'm really having some heartache with this. I really am.
well, I voted against the change for the city manager, which I hope he's forgiven me, but
He hasn't. He told me last week. He was still mad about that.
it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor.
Well, Commissioner Justice, I agree with you. That is our model, to live, work, and play in the city. And but I'm also looking at the fact that we did look at discussing with our current chief and his staff, and we asked what kind of talent we had that's currently on there, and is there anyone that's able to go ahead and backfill those roles. With the way the economy is, the housing market, the interest rates, I don't see someone that is my understanding, obviously talking also with other chiefs in other departments, that typically a chief position is not out there fighting fires, not out there running the actual calls. They are the face of the department, and they basically handle, the media, they handle, the actual leadership. And that's when they leave it up to their lieutenants, their supervisors that are out there fighting the fires, dealing with the actual road emergencies and so forth. So that's where, again, I asked all these questions to validate, to make sure that, again, if we do bring this up to this commission here, that we look at what is it that is expected of the actual chief. Okay. And again, and if these individuals can make it within a 30-mile radius of the actual city line, and we could still be able to keep our ISO certifications, we could still be able to keep the, like the talent, we could still keep the actual, let's just say the ball still rolling for our first responders, whether if that's, the police chief, the fire chief, or the EMS chief, we're still giving that opportunity to look outside of the actual radius of our city. Our city is very large. However, it's still the fact that we still have a boundary on it. And if there's some talent right on the other side of that boundary, why wouldn't we want to look at that, opportunity? But I do agree. And I would hope that, if the market does change, the interest rates go down, that these individuals, if they are given an opportunity to represent our city, that they would consider, moving into the city if that's a possibility for them. But unfortunately, right now, I don't see many people that are in their retirement, the last 10 years of their career, that's wanting to finish up as a police chief or fire chief or an EMS chief. They're not going to pick up their family that's already rooted wherever they are, that 30-mile radius, to go ahead and potentially pick on another $50,000 to $100,000 increase on the housing, the interest rates, and potentially move their kids from different schools, all just to come here to work for a job that we all know that is way underpaid to begin with. That's what I'm looking at.
Did you say it was underpaid?
I think they should be paid a lot more. That's what I'm saying. I think every, first responder should always be paid more. We look at all the athletes out here making millions of dollars. Absolutely. Look at it. This board up here is given multiple opportunities, to simply, to go ahead and increase that amount. So anyways, but I hear some folks back there. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's okay, man. Hey, I'm here to support our first responders. I always have been. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. And that was my vision of this right here, is to make sure we can look at additional talent. So
Commissioner Hefner.
This is first reading. So I'm kind of on the fence. I could argue both sides. Living in the city, you're part of the community. I think, what Hambrick has done, Chief Hambrick has done over his tenure here to drive that sense of community throughout the department. I don't know that we'd necessarily have gotten that if Chief of Police didn't live in the city of Mount Juliet. Maybe we would have, but I'm struggling with that a little bit. I know that times have changed. I know that there's been an influx of individuals moving into Middle Tennessee that are probably have some great backgrounds, extremely overqualified, come from different law enforcement agencies, federal, state, what have you. So I don't want to miss out on an opportunity to pick up a fire or a police chief that's got it's just an intense background that would be extremely fitted for the position. So I'm a little torn. Be open to possibly within the urban growth boundary as a compromise. But I'm gonna pray on it. I think this is a big decision. I'm not going to take it lightly and try and factor in as much as I can. But these are the things I'm struggling with right now. But I'm going to push it far. I'm going to vote in favor of it and see how things go before the second reading.
I do got to respond to just one thing here. I got a text that says basically, how dare you have voted against Kenny Martin? We like him better than you. So, and so I feel I need to clarify here. I did not vote against hiring Kenny Martin. I voted against waiving the residency requirement, and I was happy to vote for Kenny Martin. Yes, sir.
And I think a lot of you. So thank you. text like that.
I think it was in jest, but it's, I feel it's best to clarify that, Mr. Justice.
Just out of curiosity, I don't know right off the top of my head, what is the fire chief's salary going to be as it stands right now, budget wise?
Yeah, I don't have,
It's 100,000. I mean, somewhere around
over
there.
that. It's over that.
Jennifer, okay. So,
108.
okay, I guess my point being, some of the higher paid positions in the city of Mountain Juliet, and we are on track with, what was it?
Fire Chief 6717.
6717.
That's what I've got. Oh,
So the fire chief starts out at 46.52 and tops out at 66.
6617.
So
That's,
I
that's,
gave it
that's
to
per
you.
hour, correct?
46.52 is like 96,000 a year.
Okay, thank
Starting
you.
out.
All right. All right. So we're talking close to $100,000 a year.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good salary. Yeah. And it's on track with everything else that the others pay. I mean, we made sure of that. So to say that they're underpaid, I think, and by the way, thank you for your civics lessons and emergency response. A lot of that information I never would have known. In fact, if you hadn't been able to tell me that. So thank you. I appreciate that. So, bless your heart. We went through a whole lot of debate, a whole lot of heartache when we were putting the ordinance in to begin with, to put in place distances for people to be from the city of Mount Juliet. A lot of that had to do not necessarily with the fact that they couldn't afford to live here or they could afford to live here. What it had to do with was the fact that we've got people that we want involved in the community, not just while they're working, but when they're off as well. That kind of camaraderie, that kind of sense of community is gained by living here, not just working here. And I'm afraid we lose that. I don't want to lose that. We worked hard to get our police officers and our police department to the point where they are accepted, not only accepted, but loved by our community. We want the same outcome for our fire department. And I think it makes it harder for that to happen. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I do think it makes it harder for that to happen if we don't use the opportunity to move these people into our city and be able to, embrace them, take care of them, love on them like we do the police officers out here. So, this is, everybody gets to make a decision here, but this one's probably a little easier for me to make.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just one more thing, just because, again, Commissioner Justice, I totally understand what you're trying to say, and you're absolutely spot on when it comes to certain topics here. But our current fire chief, the intermittent, Mr. Edwards, he's been on the clock since 4 a.m. because I actually just texted him and asked him that question. That man don't live within the city limits currently right now, but he's just the intermittent. But this man gives just as much care about this city, and he also has given more to this city in this role as the assistant chief with our past fire chief that was in that position. And I'll tell you right now, when it comes to the dedication, the training, the knowledge that he's brought to this city by our previous fire chief that's given us, great talent, stepping out on faith. I will say this, anybody that doesn't live within a city is doing everything that they can to move here if it's feasible. I'm telling you, everything that we always come in, there's so many opportunities here, but the market, it's very expensive. And I'll tell you right now, when it comes to making $100,000 a year, that sounds like a lot of money. Absolutely, it is. But it's still not enough, because right now for a family, I don't see a single man or single woman moving in to this city being able to afford a $350,000 house on a $100,000 income. I don't see that. Well, I'm saying like that's the average home price in Mount Juliet right now. 350,000 for the small houses. Yes. I mean, well, for townhomes as well. So
I think you're capturing townhomes.
I'm
in that.
capturing townhomes, all for housing, all for housing. That was the biggest thing that we were pushing in here, was about $350,000 was the average cost for a home in here. And that's home, could be townhome or home. But either way, right now, one individual making 100 grand is nothing. So yes, believe me. I mean, I looked at this very detailed, asked a lot of questions, and we got to be able to, see what else is out there. So that's where I'm at. That's all I had to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to agree with Commissioner Hefner. I'm going to vote for this on first reading. Move this on. We have some language to clean up some code associated with this, but we have a lot of dedicated employees that are part of our community too, that don't all reside exactly in those geopolitical boundaries of the city. So it is a balancing act here on this, and I'll gladly take a little bit more time to think on it. So, Commissioner Mullally.
I am a co-sponsor of this along with Vice Mayor, and I agree with everything he said. If it comes down to two candidates, one lives in the city and the other one doesn't, but the other one is more qualified. Why should we hire the one who lives in the city just because he lives in the city? That's not right. We want the best. So anyway, and for clarification, it's 30 minutes response time, not 30 miles. So that's what we're voting on, 30 minutes response time. So live what? Live what? Providence? Oh, that's true. That is true.
All right. All in favor of the ordinance, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. This carries on first reading for a vote of 4-1. The next item on the agenda is 11-4, which is to amend the city code fireworks. I'll make a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right. The item is on the table. City Manager, you're the sponsor here.
Yes, sir, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask our Fire Marshal, Mr. Brent Blaymeyers, to come up and present that. He is the expert in the house.
Yeah, so I believe the main objective here is to move this from current enforcement to under the fire department, and you recommended some changes in here as well.
That's correct. Because currently, right now, everything goes through the building department. I'm the one, I actually go out there, do all the inspection, make sure everything's up to code. So it'll take it from the building department, bring it in under to my department of the fire marshal's office, and I'll regulate how the permit's done, as well as all the code enforcement as done as well. And then we've done a few tweaks and changes, because the last time the code was, I guess, amended was in 2012, and when it was created, it was in 97, I think. So 11 years, it's time to update it. And because we've grown so much, it's actually time to tweak it a little bit more to a little safer for the community, and regulate some of those tents that instead of keeping them up for 3 weeks, that we cut it down to a shorter amount of time.
Yeah. I will point out that I think these changes are going to conflict with City Code Section 1631. So I have a suggested amendment to bring them in compliance with each other. And I'll read Section 1 of 1631, which reads, currently, it shall be unlawful to sell or use fireworks in the city except for June 20th through July 5th and December 10th through January 2nd. I would propose that we amend that to match the amendments to Section 10, I believe it is, to say that the sale or use of fireworks in the city, it shall be unlawful to sell or use fireworks in the city except through June 28th through July 5th and December 26th through January 1st. And that will have those two pieces matching. Yes. Is there any objection to that? Or hearing none, that the First Amendment. I also propose amending Section 3 of 1631, which currently reads, "It shall be unlawful to discharge or use fireworks between the hours of 10 p.m. and 10 a.m. except on December 31st and January 1st, when the permissible hours shall include 2 hours before and 1 hour after the start of the New Year's." I would propose amending that to read, "It shall be unlawful to discharge or use fireworks between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 p.m. except on December 31st and January 1st, when the permissible hours shall include the 2 hours before and 1 hour after the start of the new year." And to explain that, that would take the window of time from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. So reduce it from a 12-hour window to an 8-hour window, which I am told aligns better with some of the medications that people's pets get put on for fireworks. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
A second.
So, okay, so on the actual holiday itself, is that what you're saying?
No. This is just to change currently the permissible hours are 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. This would change it from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. So go from 12-hour window to an 8-hour window.
All right, and that would be from June 28th through July 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
And then also the new dates for December.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can't shoot prior to 2 p.m.
Correct.
Even though you can sell them at
Yeah.
8 in the morning. Right?
I believe it's lawful to sell them now before the discharge time anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have something to talk about on that one too. So any questions or comments on that time change? All in favor of the ordinance to change Section 3 to read, "It shall be unlawful to discharge or use fireworks between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 p.m. except on December 31st and January 1st, when permissible hours shall include 2 hours before and 1 hour after the start of the new year." Please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Got an aye. Got an aye. All right. Back to twice amended. And my third, and I'm going to need a little bit of help on where to put this, because I would like to see the language added, if it's not already captured somewhere, that when fireworks are sold, that a copy of the hours and dates for the discharge be included with the sale. Second on that. Because and the reason this is, I put this out there is because I get a lot of complaints about people going out. They say they talk to somebody, they're shooting it. Somebody says, "I don't know when it's permissible to do it," this, that, and the other. I just would like to see it included with the sale.
If we can make that happen. I mean, if that's, it's just a matter of giving them the copy of what we want it to say, and they can have the sack and they can put it in the bag as they.
That's what I'm looking for. All right. All in favor of having a requirement that the dates and times be given to the customer at the point of sale, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's my 3 amendments to this. Any other questions or comments on the ordinance? Commissioner Mallette.
I have had feedback about enforcement. And then I know one of the problems is a lot of times when people are calling PD to complain about it, they don't actually know where it's coming from. So that's one problem. If you think it's coming from the street behind you, you can name the street, but by the time the PD gets there, they've either stopped or taken a break or whatever. So, so actually, if PD catches someone shooting at 11 versus 10, what is the enforcement?
I believe, would that be a monetary or a misdemeanor? Because it'd be after the noise. What's that? Okay.
Okay, because that's an issue people have, is it's not being enforced.
Yeah, our city manager, you had something you wanted to add on that.
Right, Mayor. We can either issue a citation, and if it's juveniles, a lot of times they'll seize the fireworks and notify the parents. So 2 things.
Did you have any, Commissioner Justice?
One of the issues you're talking about, the enforcement side of this, and I had a long conversation there, or a conversation with Captain Chandler and some of the others, the police department. And as the norm is, you get someplace, by the time you get there, they're done. They're finished. Well, you have to figure, they're only allowed to shoot for an hour, basically, because it gets dark at 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock is the cutoff. So you got an hour to shoot. By the time they get there, they've done a shot, but there's somebody over here shooting. They get one warning, they're given a warning, and then by the time they get back, it's somebody else that's doing it. That's what the officers are finding. They're actually going over and they're actually making the calls, and they're going to the calls. I've seen some of these melonheads on Facebook, get on here and bash our police department that they're not answering the calls and they're a low priority. There is no such thing with the Mount Juliet Police Department. It's a low priority call. Our officers handle it professionally, and they do it every single time the same way, consistently and consistently good. So I'm a little tired of hearing from some of our constituency that have nothing better than do than get on Facebook and, unfreaking hip Mount Juliet and say bad things about our police department when it comes to these fireworks calls. They're answering the calls. They're doing the best that they can. And I'm sorry that your puppy has PTSD, but they're doing the best that they can. Not you. I'm not saying your dog has PTSD.
No, well, actually, it's funny you said that because I can totally relate to the pet issue. Like our grand dog lives with us. She's a 65-pound pit, and she has PTSD. It doesn't matter if it's fireworks or storms. She literally has destroyed 3 doors, including the frame and the drywall, chewed and clawed through to the 2x4s, 3 doors in my house. So I know the problem people have with their pets. I don't think most of them are to that degree, but she is destroy mode. Totally. I get it. They won't give her sedation meds. They give her trazodone. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't work.
Any other questions and comments on the ordinance as 3 times amended? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, sir, for your work on this. Passes on first reading. Next item on the agenda is 11.5, a resolution to approve the purchase and sales agreement to purchase the property located at 115 Clemens Road, map 72, parcel 64, consisting of 5.84 acres for $8,850,000 and no dollars. And authorize the city manager to sign, if it says no $100 or cents, clarify that. To authorize the city manager to sign the agreement. So that's an $8,850,000 purchase. Got a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Commissioner Hefner.
Mr. Martin, what departments, what's moving in there, assuming this passes?
Yes, sir.
What's day one look like? What are our costs remodeling? Do you have any rough numbers on that? What departments are going to be occupying that once that renovation, and if you have a rough cost on that?
Yes, sir. Of course, all the public works department would move there from their existing facility on the hill. Secondly, would be the building department, which occupies the basement of this building. And then thirdly would be the fire administration, which they have a secretary, and their admin team would occupy the building as well. So that's the 3 different groups of individuals that would occupy it. And from everything that we've gathered from initial estimates, somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 to not only equip the building with some of the card key access, IT, things of that nature. I believe that was a separate $150,000, which was budgeted in the budget to do that. The remaining $250,000, which the $150,000 would be from the savings of the building, hopefully, plus the $100,000 we set aside. That should get us into the building turnkey, ready to go,
Okay.
which includes, yes. So,
About how many employees?
Matt, how many of you guys have total? Yeah, 40, and then there's probably another 10, so it'd be 50, or about 70 employees total.
Okay.
And the benefit mainly is freeing up some space in this building. Of course, the old building on the hill needs to be replaced, and that would leave us just with one building. If the commission ends up, if we find a suitable location this year to build a fire station, pretty much all the buildings except for the existing city hall would be vacated.
Okay. And the last question, how much do you anticipate this would reduce on a potential new city hall? How much square footage would
Yes,
that?
sir. It could at least reduce it by half.
Okay.
Simply because the space we share now in this building, I want to say this building is 14,000 square feet. So I think one time we were talking about possibly building a 40,000 square foot facility. So if you built 20, I would feel safe with that. If you built it a little larger for future growth, 25, I still think you'd be safe.
They were saving roughly $5-6 million
Yeah.
on the based on storage or based on square footage.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Can I add this as well? I'm sorry. And of course, the warehouse space will save us a lot of room as well because it'll free up the archive building behind City Hall and probably reduce us having to build additional structures in the future to house some of the things that we typically keep outside. So we'll get a little bit longer term of life by keeping those things inside the facility.
Okay.
All right. Vice Mayor?
First of all, our city manager has done a great job on this. I've actually toured the facility. That's kind of my background when it comes to, the actual facility, the infrastructure. It's been well maintained. Obviously, there's a lot of room in there for future growth. My biggest question, which was, with the existing buildings that we're looking at, what are we paying to help keep those maintained, as well as, the cost of the energy, the cost of compliance, the cost of just I would just say the age of the buildings, because those are typically not in the best shape compared to this one. But also just obviously I'm like the assets that Mr. Martin had also stated, which is taking those out of the storms, and we could be able to see the future, life expectancy on that additional equipment over there. So compared to what we would pay to go ahead and build a building with the land and everything else, it's just a turnkey. I think there's some really good opportunity in there. So thank you for everything you guys done out there to try and find this property for the city.
Thank you. Mayor, I'll add this. I'd be remiss. First of all, I would like to thank each of you for taking your time to tour it and entertain the idea. I did meet with the previous tenant today. They'd actually wanted to buy the building a few years ago. We'd actually reached out to the owners of the building several years back about possibly buying the building. At that time, the family didn't want to sell it. After the tenant left, the most recent tenant, I reached out to the family, and at first it was a no. To their credit, I think they're at a point in life to where I think they see some value to, if it goes to anybody as a city for city use. If you knew the Stilts family, if you knew their history, Mount Juliet, one of the oldest companies at one time in Mount Juliet, a very precious family, and I appreciate them entertaining this, and I appreciate you all entertaining. I promise to make you proud with this facility if the city does choose to do it, and it make it something I think that will benefit the city for years to come.
All right. All in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries.
Thank you.
Next item is 11.6, a resolution to approve the purchase and sales agreement to purchase the remaining 14.7 acres of land located at 620 Clemens Road for $1,639,300 and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement. Motion is second. All in favor of the resolution, please signify by. No, got a comment?
Land for? I think that was my original question
sir.
6 months ago, and we purchased.
It was, and it's a very fair question. From your city manager's perspective, and hopefully the commission's perspective, I know there's been a lot of talk about additional recreation opportunities in Mount Juliet and with Clemens Road with the proximity in the heart of Mount Juliet. I could envision it for that at some point in the future. And I don't want to speak for the commission by any means because it would be up to this vision from this commission to choose what they'd like to do with it. But there's not another piece of land like this that's contiguous, just down from the Public Works facility. Of course, you all, to your vision, purchased 10 acres that's right beside this last year. This is the better of the 14 acres. I commend Commissioner Justice. I know that he was instrumental early on in working out and brokering an opportunity for the city. So I think it's really the sky's the limit for the city. Well, what I envision is either additional sports complexes of some sort or whatever the commission sees fit. I definitely don't want to put words in any of the commissioners' mouths, but there's been everything talked about, maybe an additional community center, pools, outdoor opportunities. I love a lot of what's being kicked around here recently with thinking outside the box. You know, we think about the container park and, you know, the putt-putt and horseshoes and things that don't cost a lot of money necessarily for people to do, but they can just, you know, grab things and go to the local park area. So it's already so pad ready that we could actually make something out of it in the interim without spending a lot of money and benefit from years. And then you've got it preserved because land, even though it is high right now in interest rates, that is a key piece of land. And I think the opportunity for the city is striking at the right time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner
How's that
Justice.
Thank you. The opportunity to buy that, and I want to clarify something. I didn't broker anything. And as a real estate agent, I did not get paid for anything.
That is
Okay.
true.
I want to make sure everybody understands that.
And I didn't vote against Kenny Martin.
And he did not vote against Kenny Martin. So we're all on the record here. What I did do was I was able to negotiate with the owner of the property and get that down to a discounted price if we purchase the entire piece, which discounts the total amount. And talking to the parks director following years in our conversation, I actually went to him and he did say that there was an opportunity over there for 4 to 5, 6 acres. There's a whole 10 acres over there, but then you take that other 5 acres, there's an opportunity to sell that, do something else with it, you know, and that's all up in the air. We can figure that out. But if we want to sell 5 acres of commercial property, we potentially would get our money back at that point, or a large portion of our money back, because we don't discount what we sell, only what we purchased. So that was kind of the theory behind it. So and that was the reason that money's been put into the budget and was put into the budget so we could get the entire piece, not just the 10 acres that Public Works was getting. So I don't think the city needs to be in the land business. I've said that all along, but it does give us an opportunity to increase some of our recreational opportunities, according to the city parks director. So
We have a plan for it.
right.
At least to me, it sounds like we've been thinking through this and we've got some ideas of what we'd like to use for that. I don't want to go out and just start buying land, just buy land.
Right.
Because that's taxpayer money that can be used somewhere else, roads, for example. So if we got plans for it and it makes sense, then yeah, I'm all in favor of it.
Yeah, I think it's a song by Dirt. They ain't making it anymore, but part of the thing with this, and I think you just mentioned on that, was the discount for the purchase that had already been made. And this is kind of the piece to get it. So if we did nothing with it, it reduces our original asking price to get credit back to this on it.
Per
Plus
acre
the-
cost goes down.
Yeah. And plus all three, I'll just point out all three of these final items here are budgeted already. So they have been reviewed.
Well,
So.
you still have
City
to approve the
manager.
contract.
Yeah, Mayor, I wanted to thank you again. Thank the commission for your consideration and everybody's effort. It takes a team to build a village, and I appreciate all your support. And we will put it to use. And also, this piece of property has a little bit of history. It was very instrumental to the current property owner that allowed us to do stockpiling on the property after our tornadoes, March 3rd of 2020. I don't know where we'd be without utilizing this property at that particular time. And so a lot of history there, sentimental history.
Yeah, that's a simple statement, but that was
huge.
30, 40 feet pile on that property. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 11-6 carries. The next item is 11-7, a resolution to approve the purchase and sales agreement of the property located at 9904 Lebanon Road, Mount Juliet, Tennessee, located at map 54, parcel 95.1 for $825,000 and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement and close on the property. A motion is second that I hear it over here. This is all falls into road widening efforts there for Lebanon Road. So this is all a piece. Again, we budgeted money for this to, I don't know, right word be assist or aid the state, spawn forward or spur forward. Yes.
We put in there to that $3 million was put into the budget to assist them in purchasing right away, and in talking to Mr. White with Public Works, looked at this property and determined that this was actually needed to be taken as well, and so takes out the parking. So we have to take the whole building. But if we do it now, we actually save having to relocate a potential tenant. So if we waited and they put a tenant in there, not only do we have to buy the building at whatever the cost was, then we also have to relocate. We have to buy the building and relocate the tenant, which you're looking at $1.5 million. This case, we get off at $825,000 rather than $1.5 million. So we're actually saving anywhere from $4 to $6 million, or $400,000 to $600,000 doing it this way.
Do you have something you wanted to add as well?
Yeah, Mayor, this is visionary on part of the Board of Commissioners. When this topic first came up, of course, we reached out to the property owner, talked to our Public Works team. I do think it's getting way ahead of the process, which is good. It's forward thinking. If we buy it now, exactly, if somebody was to move into that building and there was an interested tenant, put any kind of money into it, we'd have to relocate the business later. Plus, there'd be that additional cost they'd put into the building. The good thing about it is if the building is purchased, I think we have really one outstanding thing with that the property owner is working with Public Works on, and that's just a phase one. This is a standard thing that we do through the state, which is recommended by legal. If everything goes as planned, the hope is that we could use the building for another use, which I'll share with the commission at a later time. So I think we can get some short-term benefit out of the building until which time the city decides to demo the building. So thank you again for your vision.
All in favor of 11.7, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 11.7 carries, and that brings us to 11.8, a resolution to encourage all entities in Wilson County, the City of Lebanon, and the City of Watertown to participate in a countywide development tracker that would be available on the all Wilson County entities website and available to the public. Motion. Second on this. Does anybody want to speak to this? We got Commissioner Mullally and Commissioner Justice. Commissioner Justice.
This was something I proposed about 6 years ago to the county, and at that point in time, there were some up there that said, "Oh, this is not needed." Over a period of time, with the complaints that are coming from the people that the county and the city and the county schools and various other entities are not working together, I think the opinion has changed, and now they feel like it is needed. And so I wanted to put this on paper as to what I was trying to accomplish and have been trying to accomplish for quite some time, and that is that development plans for the city of Mount Juliet, for the city of Lebanon, the city of Watertown, Wilson County, and heat maps, information that would be involved regarding the Wilson County school systems. All of that should be on one central location, one central site. And when I talked to Travis and to our city manager, Kenny Martin, Travis said that would be a site that he could, and we as a city could actually host, and each individual city and would have the opportunity, an entity would have the opportunity to put input all of those plans and put one site up there for everybody, whether it be residents, people wanting to develop here, people, whatever their goals may be. It's an informational site for everybody to contribute to, and we can all pull it up and look and use it as needed.
I appreciate the efforts to bring that to reality. I would point out, though, that the city of Mount Juliet and all deserve some recognition that the staff has done to make stuff out there publicly. We've got the development tracker, we got capital projects tracker, all that stuff is publicly available already for the city. And I know sometimes I get some feedback from people. It's like, do you ever tell people? I was like, it's all right here on the website. You can see anything we're up to. We televise it. We're probably televising it before some entities 20 years in advance. Everything we do is very transparent here. And to have a central place to capture that, I think is a huge blessing.
I know I've been a mouthful tonight, but I got to add this. Again, the vision of the commission, vision of staff. I got to give IT, Mr. Travis Taylor and all the IT team for thinking ahead. When you think about our alert system that was put in place, what was it? Nixle. We had originally with Nixle and other things that's been done here. It's thinking way outside the box. I want to thank y'all's vision. Thank Travis for his willingness to basically step up and say, what do we got to do here to make it work? But it's some very forward thinking going on in the city, and thank you.
Yeah. Well, now again, staff's done a wonderful job. I would respond to one other comment was that Mount Juliet's filling up the schools, but from looking at the residential report for the fiscal year from 2020, the numbers I had at the time of it, Mount Juliet accounted for less than 8% of the growth in the county. So that's not bad for a city that probably accounts for 40% of the population, maybe as high as that number. So we've got some stuff we're doing. You've heard it said many times, a lot of things get proposed in the city, but a lot of it dies a long ways before it becomes reality. So it's stringent, and there's the term rubber stamp does not apply here. Commissioner Mullally?
The term entities does include schools, so we don't technically have to add schools to this, right?
Well, that's the reason it's written like that. It's not restricted to the schools, but so that you've got schools available. But not just schools. I mean, Wilson County planning, Lebanon city planning, as opposed to just the city commissions or city councils of each one of the cities. Planning commissions and the planning departments for the schools as well.
Yeah, and I would like to see on the schools portion, what Commissioner Hefner has done with the schools to include those maps, the school zones for the high school, middle school, and elementary school, and also their occupancy ratings that's given from Director Luttrell, so that people can go in there and see, like a certain school where they're at. The capacity, so I think that would be beneficial too for residents to be able to see that as a whole,
My thought 6 years ago was that all of that information would have been put on there. My goal 2.5 years ago, when I went back and approached him again at the county level and the city of Lebanon, was that all that would be put on there. And so the last conversation that I had, I was told that would be put on there. So, but it's going to take, it's not going to immediately happen. It's like Kenny said, though, we've got the opportunity here because we've got such a proactive IT department. With Travis Taylor, I remember when we were talking on cans with strings tied together, and Travis Taylor took us way beyond where most governmental entities are. We wouldn't have anything near what we've got if it wasn't for him and his vision, Travis's vision. I mean, it's amazing what he's been able to accomplish, him and his staff. So, kudos to them.
All right. All in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. And that carries. That being the last item on the agenda, I'm making a motion to extend the meeting by 2 hours. Dies for lack of a second. How about adjournment? All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.